There's a silent thief robbing you of energy, respect, and peace, and it's not what you might suspect. It's not your workload, stress levels, or personal problems. It's something far more insidious: your perpetual availability. Think about your daily patterns. You're constantly reachable, always responding to notifications, answering calls, and making yourself available whenever someone needs you. We've been conditioned to believe this accessibility equals value and appreciation. But I'm here to tell you it's actually an elegant trap. Invisible chains binding you to a state of emotional servitude. Being perpetually accessible doesn't demonstrate strength, it erodes your power. There's an ancient psychological principle at work here. What's abundant becomes devalued. What's constantly available loses its magnetism. The cruel irony? In your desperate attempt to be accepted and appreciated, you become increasingly dispensable. The more you extend yourself, the less visible you become. The more time you sacrifice, the less respect you command. And thus begins the relentless cycle, giving more while receiving less. Consider this uncomfortable question. How many times have you completely depleted yourself for relationships where you're the only one making an effort? How often have you burned yourself out, maintaining connections that exist solely because of your constant input? These people aren't invested in your authentic self. They're attached to your unwavering availability. The moment you establish boundaries, you'll witness an immediate revelation about who truly values your essence versus who merely values your accessibility. Here lies a powerful truth that society rarely acknowledges. Genuine respect develops through strategic distance. Inner peace flourishes within the boundaries you establish between your precious energy and the world's endless demands. This isn't about becoming a recluse, it's about constructing deliberate perimeters around your most valuable resource: yourself. People naturally respect those who respect their own time. They admire individuals capable of saying no with conviction, those unafraid of disappointing others by refusing to accommodate every request. Human psychology harbors this fascinating contradiction. We intensely desire what remains slightly beyond our grasp. The unattainable captivates us, drawing us forward like a powerful magnetic force. When you transform into someone who isn't constantly at everyone's beck and call, someone who prioritizes inner harmony over external validation, your presence develops a magnetic quality. Your silence speaks with greater eloquence than endless words. Your absence resonates more profoundly than your forced presence ever could. Here's the critical insight that dismantles all excuses. Your addiction to external approval constitutes your greatest vulnerability. While you remain hungry for others' validation, you'll continue functioning as an emotional hostage. Every overlooked message, ignored gesture, or display of indifference will strike like an invisible blow. But once you truly internalize that your worth exists independently of these external reactions, something fundamental transforms within you. True strength manifests in the ability to be alone without experiencing loneliness, to become your own validation source, and to embrace silence not as emptiness, but as complete presence. Those who master solitude ultimately master meaningful connection. Those unafraid of standing alone become invincible in company. Burn this truth into your consciousness. Overexposure depletes your essence. Excessive accessibility dilutes your impact. Being available to everyone means being unavailable to yourself. Every yes given externally becomes a no directed internally. When you live on autopilot, desperately pleasing everyone around you, you gradually extinguish your authentic self, becoming merely a faint echo of your magnificent potential. Liberation begins when you realize you're not obligated to respond immediately or justify every silence. Freedom emerges when you stop seeking permission to prioritize your peace, because that peace you so desperately seek doesn't emanate from external approval. It springs from the respect you extend to yourself. Observe carefully those individuals you genuinely respect. They aren't people who exhaust themselves trying to accommodate everyone. They're individuals standing firmly within their boundaries, unafraid to disappoint, recognizing that authentic respect stems from integrity rather than constant people-pleasing. Being selective with relationships isn't selfishness, it's emotional self-preservation. You cannot construct a fulfilling existence while surrounded by people who appear only when they require something from you. Learn to identify emotional vampires, those who arrive merely to drain your vitality and vanish once nothing remains to extract. Don't fear closing doors. Closed doors create sacred space for connections that truly matter. Profound relationships require breathing room and fertile ground, achievable only when you stop nurturing toxic connections. Remember, you bear no obligation to maintain relationships that deplete your spiritual resources. You owe no explanations for protecting your sacred inner peace. Self-restraint is your hidden superpower, the ability to pause before reacting, reflect before responding, and consciously select which battles truly deserve your energy. Most people live enslaved to impulses, reacting thoughtlessly and responding without discrimination. But not you. You can choose dignified silence amid cacophony, serene calm amidst collective hysteria. In psychological terms, this self-mastery represents internal sovereignty, the capacity to govern yourself beyond external chaos. By cultivating this sovereignty, the outside world's influence over you diminishes substantially. Others' opinions become distant whispers. Social pressure dissolves like morning mist under the determined sunlight of your resolve. Grant yourself permission for strategic disappearances without explanation or justification. Mystery functions as a powerful ally. People instinctively respect what they cannot fully comprehend and value what they cannot easily predict. Don't provide all answers. Allow space for wonder, intrigue, and imagination. Within that uncertainty, authentic respect naturally emerges. Genuine influence isn't established by increasing volume, but by controlling access to your energy. You needn't be omnipresent, respond to every message, attend every gathering, or participate in every conversation. The more selective your appearances become, the more valuable each presence becomes. Transform silence into your secret language. Let decisive actions communicate when words prove insufficient. Make your absences powerful statements of principle. Remember, energy conserved today becomes strength required tomorrow to construct your authentic legacy. Social pressure exists merely as an illusion sustained by collective insecurity. Everyone fears exclusion, irrelevance, invisibility. Yet breaking free from this illusion transforms you into a magnetic anomaly. People inevitably gravitate toward those walking confidently outside the herd because secretly everyone craves such freedom, though few dare claim it. I propose something radical. Step back strategically. Observe the chaos from a position of detachment. Preserve your energy like a master strategist preparing for significant moves. Don't surrender your precious peace to everyone knocking at your door. Choose deliberately who deserves access to your time, space, and essence. True victory isn't being remembered by everyone, but being remembered by those who truly matter. Success isn't filling every moment with activity, but infusing each moment with genuine purpose. Quality invariably transcends quantity. Authentic respect isn't solicited, it's cultivated through unwavering personal integrity. Internalize this truth. You aren't a 24-hour emergency service. You weren't placed on this earth to function as everyone's emotional support system. You exist to develop yourself fully while protecting your peace as the invaluable treasure it represents. Because ultimately, the only approval truly relevant is the approval you grant yourself. Proceed with this unshakable certainty. Your energy has limits. Your time remains finite. Your peace is sacred. Protect these treasures like a guardian defending the final stronghold, because therein lies your true freedom and unassailable strength. Now confront yourself honestly. Are you prepared to pay the necessary price for your peace? Or will you continue mortgaging your soul for fleeting approval from a world that remains perpetually unsatisfied? The choice, as always, belongs exclusively to you. Pay careful attention now as we venture into even deeper territory connected to everything previously discussed. If we've addressed establishing boundaries and protecting inner peace, now let's examine something few truly comprehend: the transformative quality of intentional solitude. I'm not referring to solitude as punishment or consequence of social withdrawal, but as a powerful construction tool. A sacred laboratory where you forge your most authentic self away from constant external noise. Most people fear being alone because in silence, the voices they've long avoided begin to surface. People fill Their existence with noise, constant activity, and validation seeking not from necessity, but from fear of confronting life's most challenging conversation, the one with themselves. Your excessive accessibility manifests not just toward others, but operates as a strategic distraction from your essential inner dialogue. You remain so externally available that you disconnect completely from your internal guidance system. Here lies the profound irony. Only by embracing temporary solitude can you truly transcend loneliness. Authentic loneliness isn't the absence of external company, but the absence of internal companionship. This represents the breaking point for most. They've lost connection with their identity without external reflection. They've constructed their entire sense of self around others' perceptions, validation, and acceptance. Yet when these external references are temporarily removed, when you're left alone with your unfiltered thoughts, you confront an essential truth. If you cannot tolerate your own company, what logical basis exists for expecting others to value it? Truly magnetic individuals, those who effortlessly radiate compelling energy without words, have mastered self-appreciation in silence. They've transformed solitude from prison into sanctuary. They require no external validation because they've already validated themselves internally. They don't desperately seek constant company because they've established harmonious relationship with themselves. Here's a transformative insight. When you strategically make yourself less accessible to others, you gain unprecedented access to yourself. You exchange superficial interactions for profound self-reflection, fleeting external validation for genuine self-understanding. You develop unshakable presence, not because the world suddenly becomes more accommodating, but because you become internally unbreakable. There's another remarkable dimension to this journey. Your strategic silence functions as a natural filtering system. Without saying anything, people reveal their true intentions. Those approaching from self-interest quickly disappear, while those genuinely valuing your essence remain steadfast. There's poetic justice in this. Your mere absence exposes others' authentic motivations. You stop wasting precious life energy on doomed relationships as the world begins seeking you, not because you desperately seek attention, but because your authentic energy becomes increasingly rare and magnetic. Beyond well-cultivated solitude and healthy boundaries lies a psychological principle few successfully implement: the power of anticipated value. When people lack immediate access to you, they naturally construct mental representations of your value that intensify during periods of waiting. Anticipation nourishes imagination, and imagination cultivates deep respect. What remains scarce becomes desired. What's deliberately reserved becomes revered. This isn't abstract theory, but fundamental psychology. Consider anything you've deeply desired. Invariably, it's something requiring significant time, patience, and effort to obtain. And what happens once you finally acquire it? Its perceived value increases dramatically. Apply this principle to yourself. By strategically reducing your availability, carefully safeguarding your space, and selectively choosing your moments of presence, you elevate your perceived value not just in others' estimation, but more critically, in your own self-perception. Now approaches an aspect few dare attempt: learning to appreciate the art of strategic waiting. Not just making others wait for your response, but personally savoring the delayed gratification of meaningful connections and authentic opportunities. Frantically chasing every shiny possibility means inevitably missing what genuinely illuminates your path. The patient person isn't merely displaying strength, but practicing strategic wisdom, understanding that life's most valuable offerings rarely come to those desperately pursuing, but to those who position themselves perfectly for the right moment. Patience combined with selectivity creates explosive potential. This isn't about indiscriminately closing every door, but deliberately opening only those leading somewhere truly meaningful. This fundamental shift transforms your entire relationship with existence, transitioning from reactive living at the mercy of external demands to proactive living according to your deliberately chosen rhythm. True emotional autonomy isn't about needing absolutely no one, but about depending on no one for your baseline well-being. A critical distinction. Human connections remain vitally important, but stay healthy only when founded on freedom rather than desperate necessity. Authentic freedom emerges only when you're willing to release superficial connections to create space for deeper life engagement. Ask yourself with brutal honesty, how many current relationships exist solely because you've made yourself perpetually available? How many would survive if you stopped immediate responses and prioritized your space, time, and energy? The answer likely creates discomfort. That's positive because discomfort often serves as the gateway to transformative change. Reducing accessibility doesn't indicate insensitivity. It demonstrates heightened awareness, allowing deliberate channeling of your finite energy toward people, projects, and experiences truly deserving investment. Your energy remains inherently limited. Squandering it represents an unaffordable luxury if you're committed to building an authentic, truly liberated existence. Here's my direct challenge. Strategically remove certain pieces from your life's chessboard. Allow people to experience your temporary absence. Let the world recognize the void created when you prioritize yourself authentically. Only then will you fully comprehend a simple yet revolutionary truth. Silence doesn't represent emptiness, but contains an abundance of answers. When you internalize this truth, allowing it to influence every decision and relationship, something game-changing emerges. You needn't be everywhere to become unforgettable. You needn't maintain constant presence to command deep respect. Authentic presence isn't measured quantitatively, but qualitatively. Are you prepared to transform deliberate silence into your most formidable strength? Are you ready for your strategic absence to communicate more powerfully than desperate presence? Crossing this threshold means never reverting to previous patterns, and I guarantee the world will never perceive you the same way again. One final crucial understanding remains for mastering this invisible influence: the profound relationship between energy management and perceived identity. This frequently overlooked concept separates those swept along by circumstances from those who calmly direct circumstances from positions of strength. Every instance of uncontrolled energy expenditure not only depletes you physically, but dilutes others' perception of your authentic value. What you project isn't merely your words or actions, but the distinctive quality and direction of your energy. Consider anyone possessing genuine magnetic appeal. They rarely maintain constant verbosity or exposure. Rather, when they do appear, their energy remains concentrated, clear, and compelling because they've protected it vigilantly, treating it as the non-renewable resource it truly represents. Most people operate as though personal energy exists in infinite supply, squandering it through meaningless conversations, directionless worries, and connections offering nothing beyond temporary emotional placation. This brings us to another critical concept: emotional economics. Your vital energy functions as personal currency. You determine its investment. Like any economic system, resource mismanagement inevitably leads to bankruptcy, making existence feel overwhelmingly burdensome, decisions paralyzing, and minimal external demands completely exhausting. Why does this occur? Years spent funding, deficit relationships, providing unreturned attention, and seeking validation that evaporates immediately upon receipt. Contemporary society operates as a silent energy predator. Social media platforms, endless notifications, immediacy addiction, compulsive responses, illusory digital connection, transforming you into an unpaid energy provider for systems that never reciprocate your investment. It resembles maintaining a public bank account where anyone can withdraw your vital resources without permission, each transaction distancing you further from your essential core. People who preserve personal mystery and masterfully manage time appear consistently charged with magnetic energy, not because they accomplish more, but because they undertake less with greater intention. They refuse to squander vital resources, reject groveling for external validation, and resist dissolution into excessive accessibility. Now, for an explosive truth, self-exploitation disguised as productivity represents one of modern life's most dangerous deceptions. We mistakenly equate constant busyness with meaningful advancement, believing that filling every minute approaches excellence. Reality reveals something different. We're disguising emotional dependency as productivity, flooding ourselves with activities because we cannot tolerate reflective silence, filling every void to avoid genuine self-confrontation. Being perpetually busy differs fundamentally from making authentic progress. You can exhaust decades running in endless circles within social acceptance cages without advancing a single inch toward genuine freedom. Selectivity applies not exclusively to relationships, but equally to activities, permitted thought patterns, and pursued objectives. Consider implementing a comprehensive life audit. Systematically eliminate not just energy-draining people, but also distractions, self-imposed obligations, existing solely to fill artificial emptiness. Focused attention represents your most precious asset. Wherever your focus consistently flows, there follows your entire existence. This philosophy doesn't advocate constructing stimulus-deprived lives, but rather meaning-saturated lives, nurturing relationships, purpose-igniting projects, experiences valuable without external documentation, and meaningful silences speaking more eloquently than countless empty exchanges. Let's explore an even deeper dimension: narrative autonomy, the essential practice of refusing to live within storylines constructed by others. Each time you agree to universal accessibility, giving away time without questioning, you're unwittingly living someone else's narrative, playing supporting roles in scripts you never authored. Reclaiming your time, space, and energy means recapturing the pen that writes your unique story. No greater power exists in this lifetime. Controlling your personal narrative dramatically reduces external circumstances' influence. You stop reacting to world expectations, moving instead according to self-determined principles at your natural rhythm. Your life story becomes defined not through external acceptance, but internal coherence. The profound peace emerging from this. Autonomy defies adequate description, knowing that despite surrounding chaos, you maintain absolute control over your personal journey. This peace remains genuinely priceless. No external validation or applause compares. It represents the serenity of solid existence without structural weaknesses, independent from opinion volatility or immediacy tyranny. Listen attentively. When escaping others' narratives to author your authentic story, you'll discover that your long-sought freedom wasn't external, but perpetually internal, waiting patiently for noise reduction to become clearly perceptible. Here begins your authentic journey, not accompanied by universal applause or following, not through accumulating superficial recognition, but precisely when deciding to walk independently, not from companionship absence, but liberation from dependency upon it. The journey commences when silence becomes your strategic ally, patience your methodology, and selectivity your protection. The genuine revolution happens internally, that sacred moment when you choose liberation from accessibility, slavery to become the undisputed architect of your time, energy, and existence. Just when believing you've completely understood these principles, the final layer of uncomfortable truth emerges. What fundamentally distinguishes sovereignly operating individuals isn't merely controlling time, energy, and relationships, but mastering something far subtler: the art of strategic scarcity. Everything scarce inherently increases in perceived value, not through pretending unavailability or playing hard to get as manipulation tactics, but through becoming so internally complete that energy selectivity emerges organically. Your time becomes appropriately scarce, not through artificial posturing, but through genuine reservation for what truly deserves attention. Authentic scarcity cannot be successfully counterfeited. People immediately detect authenticity, sensing when you're living aligned with principles rather than performing for impression. This genuine alignment generates magnetic influence transcending verbal explanation. True influence isn't actively pursued, but inevitably manifests through radical authenticity. Consider history's great thinkers, quiet leaders, and revolutionary creators. None desperately sought attention or maintained perpetually open accessibility. Their time remained deliberately limited, public appearances carefully selected, yet each appearance left indelible impressions not through excessive volume, but through sharing only when possessing something genuinely valuable. The final puzzle piece: your value isn't measured through appearance frequency, but through impact quality when you do appear. People quickly habituate to abundance. Overexposure inevitably diminishes impact. Properly calibrated mystery, measured. Absence and deliberate presence collectively build unforgettable impressions, functioning like profound quotations, requiring no repetition for permanent resonance. One concluding reflection deserves consideration. Your entire existence functions as your signature. Every boundary maintained, silence chosen, and refusal pronounced leaves distinctive marks communicating your essential character, even when saying nothing, especially when saying nothing. Consider momentarily, if completely disappearing tomorrow, what lasting impression would remain? Would remembrance primarily reflect noise quantity or presence depth? This answer defines not merely your influence, but your complete legacy. If these concepts resonate deeply like internal thunder, I invite more than passive reflection. I challenge immediate implementation beginning today, not postponed until tomorrow. Establish authentic boundaries, protect your energy as sacred resource, remove your presence from situations draining your vitality to play according to your unique strengths. For those who've remained engaged throughout this exploration, an internal spark clearly refuses extinction. I request one special action. Share the phrase, "My silence will be my power," as our shared acknowledgement. A quiet signal among those truly understanding these principles, indicating your decision to step beyond noise-dissolving masses into the selective community reclaiming authentic control. Consider subscribing for continued exploration of these uncomfortable truths and hidden pathways toward liberated, profound, authentic living. Not for statistical inflation, but ensuring you receive subsequent components of our collective understanding. Our purpose transcends mere entertainment. We're constructing resonant silences echoing through years. Before concluding, I'll leave you differently, offering one final question that, permitted to fully mature internally, will permanently transform. Perception. What would happen if tomorrow the world completely forgot your existence? Would your determination remain undiminished? Contemplate this question deeply, experiencing its existential vertigo. Upon discovering your answer, preserve it privately, a concealed strength. Remember, history's most effective weapons remain, hidden until absolutely necessary. Until we reconnect, or perhaps you won't see me directly, but will experience my continuing influence. Because authentic impact doesn't diminish through absence, it multiplies exponentially.